episode of EasyTalk is sponsored by 5J Entertainment. Know that your life matters, your dreams matter, and you can achieve them, no matter who you are or where you're starting out from. Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of EasyTalk, real talk for true entrepreneurs. And today, like no other episode, you are going to get a powerful, powerful message that you can use in your business, but also in your personal life. Let me introduce to you Mr. D. John Jackson. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yes. Now let me give the audience just a little bit background about John. We have today an absolute powerhouse in this building. He's a Fortune 50 corporate leader, an engineer, a business expert, and an author who's changing the game with his powerful storytelling and bold voice for change. John is the mindset behind Whom the Virus Tolls. It's a gripping, eye-opening look at how COVID-19 pandemic didn't just stop the world, it exposed deep divisions. It challenged how we see science and unity, as well as reshaped how we live. He brings the human side to the headlines, reminding all of us that we're all connected and that collaboration is the only way forward, which is now the latest film streaming now on Prime Video. How about that? But that's not all. John has also wrote a book, What About Me? Walking the Tightrope as a Black Man in America. It's a must-read that speaks straight to the heart of every young Black man, boy, and underrepresented voice out there. He's living proof that no matter where you start, your dreams matter and you can win if you stay resilient and true to yourself. So listen, audience, he's bringing wisdom, energy, and inspiration today. So let's get ready to give a warm welcome to D. John Jackson.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
We are so happy to have you.
Hey, I am glad
so
to be
happy
here.
To
It's
have
been a
you.
while, but I've been trying to get here. So.
Schedules, time management, we talked
right.
about that, managing your time well, making sure that it aligns to your goals.
But you make time for the things you want to do.
That is true. That is true. So
I
I feel special and privileged.
I am here.
So John, I read a little bit of your bio, but tell us something interesting about you that we may not know.
I think one of the things that people find interesting when they talk to me, I've been a historian since I was a little kid.
Wow.
And delving into history, specifically American history, but world history as well. And I just have a serious desire and interest in World War II, primarily because of Nazism. And the Holocaust, and what did that mean to America, and what did it mean to democracy? So a lot of people don't know that because it seems a little bit dry and stale. My kids used to always ask me, why are you always watching this black and white stuff? Why are you always watching these films of these old black? And it's very interesting to me because as we see now, history does repeat itself, or it may rhyme, it may not be exact, but it's good to know your history because if you know your history, you can understand how to navigate the future.
Yes. And speaking of navigating the future, this show is for entrepreneurs that are either starting their business, thinking about starting a business, or been in business 10, 15, 20 years. And I think what makes this show so special with you is that you've been in corporate America. You've been in several Fortune 50 companies, and yet you transition into entrepreneurship. What does that transition look like?
I think all of it's a complete history, a collective body of being you. But I think what happens is you take all those pieces and parts and it fashions your future. Because when you take those components, you learn from the experiences. And I tell everybody, learn everywhere you are, whether it's good, bad, ugly, or indifferent.
Right.
Take all of that as learning. And then that forges your path ahead.
Yes, it helps you make better decisions.
Exactly. And it strengthens you too, because your resilience, you're going to need it. As an entrepreneur, your resilience is important because some days you'll talk yourself out of, should I do this or shouldn't I? Or should I or whatever? And then sometimes you say, well, people buy my product. Or will they even consider my services? And you can talk yourself out of it. I tell people the 6 inches between your ears can be some of the largest aspects in defeating your purposes. And I think you can't let the 6 inches between your ears talk you out of your goals and talk you out of your dreams.
Because it starts in your mind. It's all a mindset.
The mind is very
powerful.
powerful.
It's all a mindset. Speaking of that, your what about me? I can imagine the conversations between these 6 inches about if I should or should not tell this story. First question, is this your first delve at being an author and entrepreneur? Is this the first thing that we see from you in your journey from corporate America to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I had written things before,
Okay.
articles and different pieces on technology and different things where I had a certain opinion.
Okay.
But this was the first official body of work because the truth be told, this is a compilation of notes and scribbles and things I've carried for years.
Oh, wow. So
And-
this is history making.
Yeah, this is history making because I finally codified it in a manner in one document, in a book. Because ultimately I remember things and I said, oh, that's an experience. I need to write that down. But you
Yes.
never get around to taking those notes and putting them together, codifying it into a document and then publishing it. That's the first official version of it because when you read the book, I talk about things from my childhood. All the way through
All the
corporate
way.
life and
Yeah.
different pieces, what impacted me. Now, it's not everything because probably would have been an encyclopedia. And there are things I couldn't talk about at the time because I wrote it still in corporate America. But yeah, it's one of those things where I wanted to put out something to inspire and to show how to navigate, but then give a little bit of insight in me. You
Right.
know, I think a lot of the people I'm surrounded by and the people that I lead or have led, so I want to give them a little bit of a view inside of me. What makes me tick and where did it come from?
That's a powerful question. Where did it come from? Because it's rooted into something.
Yes, it is. Yes,
It's
it is.
rooted from something. Something happened that triggered that decision, that emotion.
My parents, my mother and father, my father's deceased, what they poured into me as a child, and my grandparents, my maternal and paternal, but definitely my maternal grandmother, those individuals, how they stressed treating people right.
Yes.
That sounds so simple. Treat people right with respect, having trust and dignity, and then doing the right thing. But then as you grow, remain humble.
Yes.
You know, remaining
Yes.
humble, you know, what you acquire, then reach back and to help someone. Reach back to create a path for not just your children or your blood, other people. And I think the other thing about my parents, I was fortunate to be exposed to a lot of different races and different nationalities as a child. And my mother always said, you respect everyone as an individual.
Yes. Not by their race.
Never collectively group people together. You respect those, whether they're Chinese, Hispanic, whatever, you respect those individuals. And little did I know when I grew up, I'd be around people in the corporate world of all those races and nationalities.
16,000 services employees to be exact.
Yeah, there
I
you go.
remember that number.
There you go.
16,000.
There you go. So my mom, my dad was a person who was very strict and matter of fact, this is the way it should be. You should learn
Yeah.
this. This is history. Do these. My mother smoothed the edges, and she's like, okay, so this is how you do these things. This is how you treat people. This is how you, even when times are tough, you know, go to that quiet place. Always work on your peace of mind. Peace of mind. Didn't really know what that was back then, but now I know. Peace of mind is different from peace.
It is. And for an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
peace of mind is the one thing that you want to hold on to no matter what.
Absolutely.
Because it's your business. And as you pour into your business, the right decisions will come, the right people will come around. You can attract those things that you need
Right.
when you can deliver on something valuable, such as having peace of mind. Because it truly does matter. I have learned that some decisions that I have made personally and in my business are completely different if I had a rational mind versus an emotional mind. And the peace of mind comes from being rational.
Being rational and protecting your sanity.
Yes.
Because you have to protect your sanity. And that's something you can't sleep at night. You know, I tell people there are always decisions and there are always things that you have to do. There are things you're concerned about, but having that peace, and that goes back to my faith as well. You know, my faith, and that was instilled in me early on, you know, my faith in Christ and who I am and who takes care of me and who prepares a path for me. So that gives you that stalwart of knowing that you're protected, but still your peace of mind, because we're human.
Yes, we are.
We're human, and we get caught up in the rigmarole of the world, and you're like, I need to do this, I need to do that. But when you come back to that peace of mind and that solace, and say, press ahead. You know, so those are the things I learned early on as a little child. Didn't know all about what it meant,
Right.
but they were instilled in me as girders and foundations.
And I can imagine writing this book, walking a tightrope as a black man in America, with the position of power, with the leadership that you had, with the brand that you carry. you had to give yourself some peace of mind to put this book together and actually publish it for people to see.
Yeah, because you wrestle with the fact how much to tell.
Exactly. It's like, what is this going to do? What's the consequence behind it? So you had to be at peace and have a peace of mind to say, this is my truth and I'm going to tell my story.
Yeah, and there's nothing negative about it, but it is, what I dealt with was the example I give in the book. Can you imagine walking between two volcanoes on a tightrope about 20,000 feet in the air?
Oh my goodness.
And the wind is blowing and you're trying to navigate life on that tightrope, but also you're walking on eggshells.
Oh my God.
And you're trying to maintain your balance, not do the right thing, say the right thing, not do the wrong thing, say the right thing and all those kind of things and manage. But then you look back over your shoulder and there are thousands of people watching you behind you who are coming the same way. So you then have the pressure of don't mess up.
Oh, so you're walking a tightrope between two volcanoes.
Right.
On eggshells.
On eggshells.
With thousands of people watching.
That is the best
And you
description.
cannot mess up.
And you cannot mess up. And that was the description in my office late at night writing this. I said, how can I put this into words, what it's like? And so that's what I did. And so
we don't want to forget, audience, that he did that.
Yeah.
You did that successfully. Successfully.
And
then retired.
And then retired. Yeah. It's one of those things that when you're in the midst of it, you realize that you don't understand the pressure you're under.
Yeah.
The pressure that you're under, because you don't want to feel not only it's yourself, but it's all the people that are counting on you.
Yes.
I've received emails and notes. I received an email from a gentleman. I don't know who he was, but he said, hey, you spoke to me 5 years ago in a class, in a session you were in, and guess what I did? You changed my life. I became a manager. I went back to school, became a manager, did this, and this. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know who the person is.
Wow.
But that shows me the value and the weight that you have to think about your steps and what you do and how it impacts people's lives.
And you do it naturally because you were taught to do that. Yeah. That's that respect other people, how to make decisions.
Right. Respect people, care about people. I learned this in corporate America, and entrepreneurs need to remember this as well. Care about the whole person.
Yes.
It's not just the professional. It's the personal.
Not just a dollar sign.
Yeah,
They're not a dollar sign.
It's the personal and the professional, because when I care about you holistically, then that means your discretionary effort and how you work with me is totally different, because I'm just not counting the dollar signs.
Yes. Not just look at them as a dollar sign, but looking at them as a human being.
As a human being. And then when you respect that, the team becomes stronger. Your organization becomes stronger. And as they become stronger, then that means that your bottom line or what you're trying to sell or your product, they become stronger, because now you have this coalition of people, this team of people says, hey, boss cares about me. Not as just a worker, but as a person.
Yes.
And then my discretionary effort goes up. And so it just forges these relationships and it makes us stronger. One of the things that I talk about in that book and the new book is that we're always better when we work together.
Yes. And for those of you that may not know, most of you may not know, John Jackson was my first vice president at my first job at FedEx. And that was almost 20 years ago. So when he says he cares for people, he's built relationships, that is true, because I haven't been at FedEx since 2019, and we've still kept a relationship to where we still can talk. And so it is so important. Like you said, no matter who you meet, whatever that interaction is, you've got to make it a valuable one.
Correct.
You have to make it a valuable one.
I totally agree. I've lived it. So
yes.
I lived it. There's proof.
There is proof.
There's no theory. This is not something esoteric in a classroom. This is proof. I have lived it, and all the years of experience have proved it out.
So one of the things that's interesting about this new journey that you're on is you started writing this book before COVID to kind of get out what you've gone through in your journey to help inspire someone else. But then COVID happened.
Right.
And you wrote a book, For Whom the Virus Tolls, right? So this book is talking about all things COVID and how it impacted us beyond what we could see. So tell us a little bit about your second book.
Well, interestingly enough about COVID was a once-in-a-lifetime event. And as you watch the world shrink back into this fear and shut down for the first time ever.
Yes, first time ever.
You know, it was just amazing to see the things that happened. And as I started to watch the effects, you know, the shakiness of democracy, the lackluster belief in science, or the pure denial of science, a lack of concern about individuals, the fights about masks, the fights about vaccines, the fights about doctors don't know what they're talking about, people dying.
Yes, so many people died.
Everybody knew somebody that died from COVID.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yes.
And the fear that was there. And then I got COVID.
Wow.
And I started writing. I says, I got to write about this, because this is definitely monumental with regard to life, how we live, our perspectives, our jobs, just our whole way of thinking is being changed.
And our health. Because you could have been the healthiest person on earth, and if COVID got to you, there was no kickback.
Right. So that's when I started writing. And so because of COVID, I knew there were things, you know, everybody was home. I started taking notes, started doing research, and did a lot of research. And I mean, it took me probably 2 or 3 years. And at the same time as I was writing, I started thinking about shooting the companion documentary. So I was doing both at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I was doing both at the same time. And even when I did What About Me, I worked with some other brother executive producers. We did a documentary about What About Me. It's a little bit different from my book, but same kind of theme, black men and boys. But yeah, I wanted to tell people and show people the impact to individuals' lives. You know, there's a lot on the mainstream media.
Yes.
There's a lot in the
Which,
news.
to that point, a lot of people didn't know what to believe.
Right.
Because we heard so much.
Right.
And the media has a way of steering you in one direction while something else is going on in another direction.
Correct.
So what really happened? What really went on?
And what I wanted to do is I delved into 13 lives. I wanted them to tell me what it was like for them. And everybody had different perspectives.
Wow.
Different perspectives, different angles. Some experienced death. Some experienced hardship, business hardship, entrepreneurs. But I wanted to capture that and create a historical document. And that historical document now is a document of record. People go back and say, what was it really like?
Wow.
Let me find out about some individual stories. And then the other part of it is I wanted to speak to, again, the weakening of democracy. What did it mean? I also want to speak to this notion of science and how so many people believed in things like drinking bleach or putting bleach in this. And people didn't believe doctors and people didn't believe nurses. And there's still people who believe that people didn't die.
Yes.
But when some of the folks that I interviewed, very well-known, world-renowned doctor, infectious disease, talked about the death and talked about the numbers of death across the country. It was for real. So I wanted to bring that out and put an objective piece together to give some idea of this is what people really experience. And if you dig into it now or 10 years from now, it'll give you an objective view.
And I think one of the big takeaways from the book too is, how do you prepare? How do you be intentional? How do you plan?
Correct.
We can't say that this won't ever happen again.
Correct.
But something else similar could happen, to where if you're not financially stable or as healthy as you could be, what's going to happen to you? And I think COVID put a lot on our minds to say, man, what if? Or could I have done something different? What should I have done? How can I prevent this from going forward?
Yeah, one of the folks that I interviewed talked about they almost went broke.
Yeah.
And so they changed their banking and what they save and how they prepare because another event may occur.
Yes.
And I think the other thing that I talk about in the book is specifically we're always better when we work together. One of the things I saw was all the factions, all the disbelief, all the different areas that talked about this or that. You couldn't get truth. And I know that as a democracy, I know that as a team, whether it's corporate, entrepreneur, what have you, everybody needs to be on the same page because we're stronger when we work together. And if you come together and you recognize those pieces, you can defeat anything.
Yes.
You know, one of the things I tell people, we ought to learn from Hollywood. I know people don't like Hollywood, but if you take a Hollywood movie, if there's an alien invasion or if there's a monster attack or if there's some disease, there's always this cadre of people who bond together. They don't care what race they are, what they look like, where they come from, socioeconomic status. They get together and they defeat the villain, the enemy, the aliens. They defeat them. and it comes out well. What the story is that they all came together.
Yes,
from
the Avengers is one of the great examples
There
of
you
that.
go.
There was all these powerful characters
There
that
you
had their
go.
own special thing,
There you
but
go.
when they came together,
When you come together.
Yes.
And so I will always espouse that, and I will always preach that, because I know it works in business. I know it works in entrepreneurship. It works, and it would work in a country if everybody came together and put aside the differences.
yes,
Put aside your differences, because we're more alike than we are different.
yes, we are.
And the common good is definitely going to take us to a higher level. The rising tide lifts all boats, but I think a lot of people get distracted and go off on these different vantage points and angles, and we find out is that, we almost didn't defeat COVID.
Yeah, we almost didn't.
Yeah, so.
And it took everyone, I know definitely in the city of Memphis, to say, we're shutting down at this time. We're
Right.
only going to have this many people in this restaurant. And of course, it was uncomfortable and people didn't like it.
Right.
But it was what was best. And when you have a situation where a leader is saying, we're going to do what's best for the greater good, we're going to do what's best for everybody, you almost can't help but get on board, right?
Yeah.
And being able to lead in that way is what can help us to lift the tides, as you say.
I agree. And what I did also in the book is I took a historical comparison. When you go back to the Spanish flu in the 1900s,
Yes.
1918, the same things happened. People were against masks. People were against a lot of different things. But it was a different time. But it was a repeat of this disease that spread around the world. So what I want to do is give a historical perspective and say, okay, guys, let me give you some reference. I did my homework. Now let me compare it to COVID. And now let me give you some objective facts, and now you can compare the two. So this could happen again. We don't know. And in this world that we're dealing with, who knows?
Right, we
There's
don't
measles
know.
outbreaks. There's
Exactly.
all
That's
kinds
what's going
of
on
things.
now.
Measles are
Right
going on right
now.
now, and you wonder, and there are people who are against vaccines. And don't get me wrong, there may be some issues. I don't know, but I do know Jonas Salk cured polio.
Yes.
And if it wasn't for the polio vaccine, there are things that are out there in the diseases, for the measles, mumps, rubella. There are things that prevent these diseases and death.
Yes. And to your point earlier, which I love so much about this book, is that you are a historian. You've been doing this since you preteens.
Preteens.
And so to be able to now, as an adult, a successful, mature adult, to be able to still, to take your passion and say, let me put something together on your entrepreneur journey. And I think most entrepreneurs will find that what they're doing now as an entrepreneur is something that they loved and been doing for years to come. It's a matter of how do you package that? How do you market that? So tell us a little bit about that. How are you able to take your passion, your knowledge, your education and experience and package it up in such a way that now anyone and everyone are able to utilize it?
I think you do have to think about those things that you are good at. Think about those things that you like to do, and think about those things you're interested in and the passion. What are those things that you feel that I want to go find out more about that? I want to delve into it. And that could change. It doesn't have to be one thing.
Right.
But then you have to look at what's the path forward where I can take this and use it to my advantage. I think, you learn as you go. I tell people, even at this age, I'm still learning new things. I'm learning from you, and how to pull it together. But as an entrepreneur, you sit back and you take this I guess the best word is panoramic view of where you are.
Yeah.
And you look around and you look at the things, and then you do introspection. Who am I? Who am I? What do I want? Because nobody knows you better
Right.
than you.
And you can't lie to you.
You can't lie to you.
Who am I really?
Right. And then you work through that, and then start to write it down. I tell people this all the time. Write things down. I know there's technology, and maybe I'm a little bit old school. Write these things down specifically that you're interested in, and then look at that and read. Your brain reacts differently to reading and then processing than it does to typing. Write those things down and then check them off, and then start to put that program into place. And that's what I did. And then I started to look at other things I want to do, because even my consultancy business, listen, I got years of engineering, management, leadership, and all this
IT,
kind of stuff.
yeah.
IT, I got all this stuff. But what I want to do is so I can also consult about how to structure your organization, structure your company. How do you structure an environment? How do you build for AI? How do you do things? How do you build your leaders, and what are the things you need to do today to mesh and merge with AI and the new technological challenges? So I can do all of that because it's always been a passion. But you've got to take an inventory of who you are, take categorization of the things that you like to do, because you can't do everything.
Right.
Now, some people super women can do it. Some people can do that. But what you do is then take one at a time and start to build. And don't be afraid.
Yes.
You
cannot be afraid.
Don't be afraid. And it may not go exactly how you want it the first time, but you can not stop. Keep moving
And you
forward.
can't be afraid to fail.
No.
I had a VP when I was in marketing at FedEx, Monica Skipper, and she always told us, fail and fail fast.
Right.
You can't be afraid to fail, and you've got to be able to be honest with yourself and take that constructive criticism and say, what can I do differently? And to your point, there are multiple streams of income in you that you can have: consulting, directing, author.
Yeah. And look at a way to leverage it all. And you got another thing about it is take care of yourself. You got to take care of your body, take care of your health. Don't do it at the expense of your health. You know,
Yes.
you and I were talking about drinking water.
Yes.
Drink plenty of water. Take your vitamins. Exercise. Do whatever you got to do. I got to do.
And those are your basics.
Those are
your
basics.
basics.
You know. But then think about your health and protecting your mental health and your sanity, because everybody won't always be on your side. You won't always get the positive boost. So you got to learn to boost yourself. You got to be your own hype man or woman in your head.
Yeah.
Because that's important. Sometimes when you're rolling out pieces of work or whatever, there's always somebody says, you really want to do that? Oh, I don't like that. Or you think that's worth it? You'd have 2 or 3 weeks or whatever, or 2 or 3 months or 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
You still working on that? And so
Yeah.
what you got to do is listen, be your own hype man or woman. And, you know, for me, I pray about stuff.
I do as well. And then I was telling you earlier, when I took the buyout and left FedEx, so many people was like, what are you going to do? Don't do that. Why are you doing that? You get to travel the world. You got a great job. You got a 6-figure salary, and you're going to leave it? Yeah. Sometimes you have to explore, but you've got to have a plan.
Got to have a plan.
And you got to have someone helping you lead that plan. And for me, that was God. He was leading the plan.
Right.
He definitely was leading the plan for me.
And I think when you have that faith, back to peace of mind, you can step out on faith.
You can. You
can step out on faith and like, whatever happens, it's going to be all right.
I laugh now, but I don't know who I thought I was at the time, but I laugh now. But I used to say, okay, God, they watching. I'm going to tell it. I'm going to say, you know, I thought God told me to do this and this will happen. They watching. It was almost like I was trying to pump him up, like, okay, make this work. But it really kind of hyped me up. It's like, okay, you got to do this. You got to do this.
And you only have one life to live. I know that sounds cliche-ish, but you only have one life. And we were talking earlier, you know, the worst mistake people can make is when they think, oh, I have time. Everyone's like, I have time. I'll start 2 years from now. I have time. Well, time is fleeting. Time is fleeting. It moves faster than we can believe. The currency of time is invaluable.
Yes.
And what ends up happening is that you got to reach out and step and do these things, because you look up, 5 years have gone by. 10 years ago, you're like, oh, I never
so
did.
fast.
Yeah.
So fast.
Make some steps. Even if you got to take baby steps, make some steps.
So you took a huge step and did a collaboration with Prime.
Yeah.
So now your book is now a documentary.
It's a documentary on Prime Video streaming now.
Yes.
For whom the virus told. So you go out there and check it out. The book has more information, more detail. It's broad. It covers a lot of stuff. But the documentary film, I'm very proud of it. I wrote it. I produced it. I directed it.
Wow.
I had a great team of folks working with me, did some editing and that type of thing. But that came out of writing it and then trying to get the story across that lives were impacted. Lives were impacted in such impactful ways. And then how do you tell that story? But then how do you tell this broader picture about our country and about the world? So as I was writing that, and then, you know, I knew what I wanted to look like. And so you see the film is great. We had a huge red carpet celebration last year when it first came out. We had about 350 people from New York, LA, and Memphis. But now it's on Prime Video, so everybody can get a chance.
Amazing.
So go check it out, everybody.
So you've got to check this book out. You've got to check out not only the book, but also the film on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Wow. So accomplishments, amazing accomplishments.
Just blessed. Very blessed. I will tell anybody I am blessed beyond measure. It's one of those things that I never take for granted, never take it lightly. And I tell people, even as an entrepreneur, you know, remain humble.
Yes.
You know, regardless of people, whether they are socioeconomic status, never see a face you can't speak to. My mom tells me, though, she used to tell me, says, you know, it doesn't cost a dime to smile and say hello.
It does not.
Doesn't cost a dime to just be kind to people. And that's what I try to do in my corporate career. Yes, I set high standards and goals, and I expected you to get to them because I was pushing you.
Yes.
But be kind, have empathy, be respectful. You can do that. You can do that. A lot of people don't think that. Wall Street to every company in America. You can have empathy, you can be kind, you can set high standards, and you can charge a team up to accomplish anything. And I've seen it. I've seen it.
And it's the way you do it.
Right.
It's not micromanaging. It's not bullying. You have to do it kindly and with care.
Right.
And with empathy. But people remember that. They remember how hard you push them, because people don't like to get out of their comfort zone.
Right.
And you have to be able to help them to see that it's okay to be uncomfortable. Get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's how you grow. Growing pains are real. If it's not paining you to grow, you're not growing.
Well, I tell people, whether it's CEOs, whether it's small businesses, entrepreneurs, and I would tell myself this because it's just grounded into me. Disingenuousness is a killer.
Oh, that's good.
Disingenuousness is a killer. I don't care who you are. You can be a Fortune 50, Fortune 10. People know if you're genuine. People know if your leadership is genuine. People know if you care about them. Whether you got 10,000 people, 100,000, or 5 people, or 10 people. Disingenuousness is a killer, because people know that you're not meaning what you say, and it's all a show. And unfortunately, in America, in corporate America, a lot of people putting on shows. They walk around and they flip around and they do all this stuff, and people are so instantaneously able to determine that's a show. Now, some people go for the okie doke until they find out where the rubber meets the road. But I tell people, if you're going to lead people, you have to be genuine. You have to live up to what you say. You have to do it. You have to create trust. You have to build trust. Because the other thing, once you break trust,
it's broken.
You never regain it.
Never regain
it.
And
now,
as a leader, even as an entrepreneur,
yes,
you have to. Your employees have to trust you. Your customers have to trust you.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to impact your bottom line.
Yeah. What's that old saying from the movies? Your word is bond.
Your word is bond.
Your word is bond. And I think that's true. But one of the things I've seen across this country is the level of disingenuousness. And now where we are, and then the disingenuousness with leadership that does not fill in the blanks like they should, it makes it hard on the environment for individuals.
And it makes it hard for you to trust a leader when you don't do as you say.
Oh, yeah. One of the things we talked about, we don't mention it in the book specifically, but in one of my sessions we talked about, do you know how when people have pets, dog or cat, or specifically a dog, how they can kind of sniff out if something's not right about a guest or something? They're like, I don't know if that person's right. And you don't know what they're using, but there's something innate that they're able to pull against. I don't like Uncle Jimmy. It's something that they're able to detect.
And they say, why every time you come over, this dog goes crazy?
Right, goes in the room or whatever. It's something not right. Well, in the same, not comparing people to animals, but people detect as soon as they see you, if it's a hype job, if it's something that is disingenuous, or if it's just for show, over time they figure that out.
Yeah.
And so that undermines your leadership, because especially when the rubber meets the road, if you don't come through or you do things that are counter, so I would just tell entrepreneurs, your word is bond.
Yes. And that leads into the people that you hire on your team, the culture that you create for your team. You've got to hire those people that are genuine and true to the mission and vision of your company, because if they're the face of your brand, they could kill your brand.
Exactly. And that's where, when it all boils down back to the bottom line, disingenuous leadership creates a rift and a lack of engagement in your team members. Then they're representing your brand to customers. And if they're doing a poor job of representing the brand to the customers, then you lose business, then that is your bottom line. So when people say, that's just fluffy, this empathy and all this kind of thing, no, because the environment that you create, I always preach to create a thriving environment and to bring people together of all different ilks, whatever they look like, where they come from, bring all of that talent together, and let's work and forge together. And if you do that, I guarantee you your successes will be greater if you just carve out and you try to segment and separate, because you're going to miss something. And I got a big tent. I would bring everybody in. I want the best and the brightest, and the folks who need a little help, let's come on in and we'll get there together. Because I'll help promote you. I'll help make you stronger. I'll help you gain some of the skills that you need to gain. But again, we will be stronger when we work together. So that is my theme for life, and I'll keep saying it.
Yeah, which reminds me of what FedEx's culture was like when we were there. People, service, profit. You've got to take care of the people. You've got to take care of your people.
Right. Got to take care of your people. and the other things will come. But if you don't take care of the people, if you don't have if you
Genuine
guys look
heart.
at a genuine heart, if you look at that distribution curve, normal distribution, if you don't take care of your people, the folks who disengage starts to grow.
Yes.
And as that disengagement starts to grow, your profits go down, your experience, your service, all those things go down. And you're like, what happened? What happened? Well, what's happening is that your engagement is starting to drift off and you've lost sight of it.
And that bleeds.
Yeah.
When your employees become disengaged and you don't catch it right away, it bleeds off on their coworkers. And now everybody's disengaged and doing what they want to do, and you look up and you've got to hire a whole new team.
I always, historically, I use a lot of military examples. And again, a lesson for today. If you go back and look in history, it's not about your color. I interviewed a lot of folks who I actually looked at transcripts from people from World War II, but I actually talked to some Vietnam veterans. When you're in the heat of battle and the bullets are flying, you don't care what color a person is. You don't care where they came from, Iowa, Arkansas. You all got this green uniform on, and you're trying to die or protect the unit. And that's what's so important. I said, that's a drastic example. People would ask, why are you always using military examples? It's such a life and death. I said, well, that's the best example because in an organization, in a corporation, in a small business, you need to use those principles because if people feel engaged to that level, guess what the company does? You need to work late or we need to work over the weekend to get an order out. They're going to do it, and they're going to be excited about it because guess what? You're going to pay them.
Yes.
Same thing. So that's why I learned a lot from the military. And I learned a lot from the different wars because all these stories, unfortunately, most of the World War II veterans are gone now, but they're transcripts of what they talked about and the brotherhood and the camaraderie.
That bond.
The bond and the different battles and different things. You're like, wow, these men did that together. And then obviously the later wars. But it's just something that I've always taken to use in business to leverage the strengths and the principles.
I can see that, and those strengths and principles. So for entrepreneurs, if you just have one employee, make time for those one-on-ones, make time for those team outings. Like you said, ask them genuinely, how are you doing? What's going on with you? Anything I can do to help? And that culture being created, once you get 2, 3, 4, 5, 100, 10,000 employees, that culture is what has been set. And now everybody's doing that because now it's the standard.
It is the standard.
It's the standard.
And the leadership comes from the top.
Yes, from the top, always.
Where you are, whatever company,
Always.
if the leadership is not committed, and this is something for today, is that if the leadership is not committed to it, then guess what?
It's not going to last.
It's not going to happen.
Nope.
And I tell people, what if you have an employee that has a mom who has, my parent has cancer, and that employee works for you? Telling you a true story, I'm not using names. Employees got reports to do, but mom has cancer. Being a caregiver and all these kind of things. Well, you can be a bit of a hard butt. And it's like, I got to get these reports done. I don't care when anything got to be done by Friday. This is the way it is. Or you can say, hey, I tell you what, go work from home. Do it over the weekend, or let's get it Monday or next Tuesday. Take care of your mom, and then we'll work it out. Now, how do you think that employee is going to feel? The hard butt who says, I need it Friday, I don't care about your mom and caregiving or whatever, or are you going to the person who's going to be more empathetic and say, let's try to work with you? That's what you got to do. And when I tell people about being a leader, I don't talk about being a manager, a director, or VP. I talk about being a leader because it's hard.
Yes.
Because it's not a cookie cutter.
It's not.
And it's not a situation where you just go in and read the recipe, 1, 2, 3, 1,
Right.
2, 3. Every individual, I don't care what the number is, you've got to be able to hone in and understand.
Individually, it's a personalized thing.
It's a personalized thing.
Because that individual, to your example with the mom with cancer, when you tell her she can go and work from home or take care over the weekend, she's going to give you all she's got because she knows that you care and you understand, and she doesn't want to let you down. That person that you said, we got to get this done, probably hand you their badge and say, you know what, I'm going to take care of my mom. And
so what I do in my consultancy in different places, I use real life examples because that example I just gave you is a real life example. It's a real life example of people. Life is life. People have cancer. I told you earlier, I had a young man who committed suicide, but always walked up to him and asked him how he was doing and engaging him. But unfortunately, he had some serious issues. But you have to, the way I led was, I'm going to be out front, but then I'm going to lead with trust, respect, intentionality, and then I'm going to lead the way, even though I'm on the tightrope. Because I'm battling.
And everybody's watching.
Yeah, everybody's watching. I'm on a tightrope.
On the tightrope,
there's
and
pressure,
everybody's watching.
but I am going to do the best by you because that's the way my mom and dad raised me.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what's in you.
Yeah.
Man, this has been, whoosh. I know you guys, one good tip that he gave, write it down. Not texting, not typing notes, but something about that mental connection when you write things down. You may have a book in you. Check out this book, get a better understanding of life and how to lead as an entrepreneur based on the tips that you've just gotten today from Mr. D. John Jackson. Thank you so much for coming on. Again, don't want to say, please do not forget to check out not only the book, but the story on Prime. So check it out on Amazon. Mr. D. John Jackson, What About Me? And For Whom the Virus Trolls. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time right here on EasyTalk. Real talk for true entrepreneurs. This episode of EasyTalk is sponsored by 5J Entertainment. Know that your life matters, your dreams matter, and you can achieve them, no matter who you are or where you're starting out from.